Hi, I'm Dan Schmitt. I do a weekly television show called Team Chicago Challenge. My website is teamchicago.tv. If you want to get hold of me, my email is teamdan45@gmail.com. I'm doing this TV show. I do a weekly television show called Team Chicago Challenge. I'm doing this show just for the Chicago market for the elections coming up. Now, there's the statewide election. We're going to talk about that first. And then there's a city election. We're going to talk about the candidates running for mayor in the city of Chicago. I think the show will reach a wider audience, even though you may not live in Illinois, you may not live in Chicago, you still may be interested in what I have to say. So let's see what I'm going to talk about. And don't forget my website, teamchicago.tv. So I am a well-known Republican. I ran for Congress in 2012. I did not win. Mike Quigley beat me. Chicago, I did great out in DuPage County, but in Chicago, I got murdered. You need to be able to raise money. I have no talent raising money. So let's talk about some of these elections coming up. First of all, statewide elections, Rauner and JB. Two very wealthy people. JB, like I have said, if you want socialism, if you want Marxism, if you want communism, if you want social well-being, he's a perfect liberal, not even liberal. These guys are extreme. The liberalism, it sort of goes back to the founding fathers were liberal compared to that time. Liberals nowadays, I'm more of a liberal than those people. Those people are extremists. I am a Ronald Reagan constitutional conservative Republican. I believe in the Constitution. I believe the reason we are so wealthy, why America is the greatest nation there ever was, is because of our Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Supreme Court, the way our government is set up. And any government in the world could change and accept what we do in America. Property rights, maybe the most important thing that we have in this country. And JB, like all the other Democrats, wants your money. Now, he may say he's only going to soak the rich. But if you work, if you live in Mayfair, if you live in Jefferson Park, this neighborhood, you live on the south side, you got a nice house, you are the rich. They are coming after you. Now, Rauner, at least he earned his money. I mean, JB inherited his money. I had a friend the other day say they remember seeing that Pritzker yacht coming into the Waukegan Harbor. Filthy multimillionaires. And now he'll talk, well, I want to feed all the kids. Yeah, he wants to do all these things with your money, not his money. He doesn't take money out of his pocket and feed all the public school kids lunch, even though he could probably afford to do it for a couple years. He wants you. His pride is, we made sure kids get their breakfast, kids get their lunch. In other words, he wants government to take care of you. And how has that worked out in the state of Illinois? So Rauner, he's earned his money, but as far as I'm concerned, he's no Republican. So I look at Rauner in this race and I say, probably Rauner would be the lesser of two evils, and I do mean two evils. Let me give you the example. Rauner's been the governor now for 4 years. To this day, I have no idea what his economic program is. When Donald Trump, with the steel tariffs and the aluminum tariffs, no matter what people say, steel companies are coming back. Donald Trump was in Granite City, Illinois. I know where Granite City is because I've raced down there on motorcycles back in the early 70s. The steel mill opening up in Granite City, Illinois, and where was Rauner? He was as far away from Donald Trump, President Trump, as he could be, because Donald Trump has turned out to be maybe the greatest constitutional president since Ronald Reagan. Maybe after Ronald Reagan, he may be the greatest conservative Republican, real hardcore conservative, believing in the Constitution. Everything Donald Trump says, we need legislation, I got to get this through. He's not doing stuff with executive orders. So when these people call Donald Trump is a fascist, or no, they are the fascists. The name callers are basically saying what they are. So, as far as governor, it's a tough one. But JB will soak you, and he will bring in, see, these millionaire socialists are probably more dangerous. And what they don't realize is when these mobs turn against them, when their bodyguards are disarmed and their bodyguards walk away, just like Mussolini, it will be these mobs that they have been financing, you know, your George Soros and your other multi-millionaire, billionaire liberals. When the mob turns against the rich, they are the rich. They'll be hung up by the piano string, just like Mussolini. Think about that. So anyhow, statewide, there's a couple candidates I want to mention. I've met personally Jim Dodge. I think he's a great guy. He's running for treasurer. Erica Harold's running for attorney general for the state of Illinois. My dear wife worked with Erica. She's a fine gal. I'm supporting Erica Harold. I really want you to get out there and vote for these two candidates. There's also Jason Helen running for Secretary of State, and Darlene Singer running for controller. So if you want to change Illinois, if you want to finally address the problems in Illinois, these are candidates. You need to vote for these Republican candidates. Otherwise, we are going to sink deeper and deeper, and I'll be getting in there a little bit. Two candidates running here on the northwest side is Amanda Bila, and she's a teacher. She has talked about pension problems. I may not totally agree with her 100%, but at least she is willing to talk about the pension problem. And then we got Amy Kessin, who I personally know. I've talked to her a couple of times. She has addressed the pension problem as part of her campaign. Two candidates that you need to go out and vote for. If you live on the northwest side, Michael McAuliffe, well, he's also in Chicago. I knew his dad. I've talked to Mike. When I ran for Congress in 2012, he did support me. I have to thank him for his support. The people out there in Leiden Township supported me. So God bless him to vote for Mike, even though sometimes I worry about Mike. He's not his dad. There's no doubt about it. Okay, now, here is the major problem in the state of Illinois, and everybody should know this, and I'm the guy that's going to tell you. It's been brought up before. The Federal Reserve of Chicago had a sit-down meeting with the Civic Federation. Now, that's a volunteer group, has no control. Illinois, as we stand here today, 129 billion in unfunded pensions in the state of Illinois. Not counting Chicago. Chicago's a whole different thing. Nobody is talking about that. The one plan that the Civic Federation and the Feds sitting down in a meeting have talked about, because the Constitution in the state of Illinois will not allow any pensions to be touched. So there's two things are going to happen. Either the Feds are going to, eventually Illinois is going to run out of credit. We already got the worst credit rating, maybe after California around there, but terrible credit rating. We are paying interest rate out the yang. We're like losers. The state of Illinois is like a bunch of losers, don't pay their bills. So one of the plans they're talking about is a 1% property tax on all residential property in the entire state of Illinois. Meaning someone that owns a house that's worth $250,000, you're going to have an extra tax for 30 years of $2,500. So add that on to your $7,000 or $8,000 or $6,000 a year property tax you're paying now, a 1% tax. That one solution. The only other solution is to get together and have an amendment to the Constitution where all pensions will be renegotiated in real-time terms. Michael Madigan's biggest criminal offense is that he's made these deals with these unions. They may end up getting 10 cents on the dollar, if that. Look what happened in Detroit. So this is evil stuff, the whole pension thing. And let me point out another thing, another solution that I'm talking about, maybe to help fund some of these pensions. The criminal action that I'm telling you right now, and I will debate anybody, anytime, on any stage, 1 hour debate, I'll debate anybody on this whole pension thing. These unions have been given money to the Democratic Party. Some Republican candidates have gotten money from these unions. To the unions, they're paying politicians. The politicians are making the deals with the unions. If this isn't high-class bribery, I don't know what else is. So in my mind, as a resident of the state of Illinois, I firmly believe all pension deals are illegal. In private industry, the unions negotiate with the owner of the business. Who's the owner of the business here? We are. If you live in Illinois, you own Illinois. That's the beauty of this federal government that we have. We, the people, own the state, and we also owe the debt. So these unions never came to us to negotiate. Now they can say they went to our representatives. Actually, none of these union deals were passed with legislation. There have been bureaucrats making these deals with the unions under the direction of the governor, and this all goes back. Thompson's just as guilty as Edgar's, just as guilty as Ryan is, and Blagojevich was the only guy that really tried to do something about these pensions, and he ended up in prison. So the other thing, so I think all these union contracts are basically illegal because these unions have used bribery to pay the politicians. One solution that I have to help fund some of these pensions is all these politicians, Mike Madigan, the millions and millions and millions that the unions have contributed to Mike Madigan and the Democratic Party, all that money should be put back into a fund. So Madigan should turn that money back over. Any politician that collected any money from any public service union, that money should go in a fund to help fund the pensions. Every single penny going back 30 years. Other item I have, the state of Illinois was buying land to build the third airport in the Peatone area. I don't have any idea how much money they spent, how much land they have taken away from farmers. That land should be sold. That money should go into a pension. We should try to either, A, we need to renegotiate all these pensions. I mean, some of these pensions are based on a 3% increase per year. It's insane. There's people making more money retired than they were taking in when they were working. Many people are double dipping. They worked for one company for one part of government for a while, then they went for another part of the government for a while, and they're collecting 2 pensions, some people even 3 pensions. That's got to be ended. I'll debate anybody, any place, on any stage on that subject. Okay, state of Illinois. Let me check my time. This is only a 27.5-minute program. Okay. Number one issue, Chicago's election for mayor. The number one issue in Chicago, and I have nobody addressed it, I have addressed it. You can look online and say, Dan Schmitt on YouTube, nobody cares. The murder rate in Chicago may be the worst. Why business won't come to Chicago? That's number one. I talk to people that are afraid to even come to Motoblot, the street fair in Chicago. I mean, these are tough motorcycle people. Won't even come to Motoblot because it's in Chicago. The murder rate problem in Chicago is the number one problem. Let me write that down. I want to make sure you know what I'm talking about. Murder. Number one problem. The solution, and none of these candidates have brought up the solution, the only way we're going to cut down the murder rate is to arrest the murderers. There are multiple mass murderers walking the streets of Chicago. Serial killers. If you killed 10 people, 20 people, you're a serial killer. Many, many walking around the city of Chicago. When President Obama was president, 8 years he was president, and 1 mile radius of his house, his nice house in, was that Greenwood or whatever street he's on the south side by University of Chicago, over 500 young black boys and girls were murdered within 1 mile of President Obama's house, and he did nothing. 8 years did nothing. Where's the FBI? Where's special whatever FBI? Why can't they put an FBI task force together to get these murders? Who's checking the guns? Who's checking the bullets? I can't hear anything. I've suggested that ABC, NBC, CBS should have a half-hour program every day, just like they had Nightline. When the hostages were kept in Iran, we should have a murder half-hour show. We need everybody. I firmly believe on the south side and the west side, there are tens of thousands of God-fearing, law-abiding folks living in those neighborhoods that will work with the police when the police reach out and ask them to work. Rahm Emanuel made the remark, how come there is no moral code? How come? Well, you know why? The school systems, not just public school, Catholic school, private school, maybe private school even worse, they have not taught the number one reason we have education in the United States of America, the number one reason we finance education is to teach virtue. If we are going to have a society of people that love each other, because we are dependent on people loving each other to make America work. This free society, the society based on property rights, where what you earn, you get to keep. Virtue needs to be taught in every school, starting at 5 years old, 4 years old. You want to teach the 10 Commandments? You don't want to teach morality? Teach the law starting in 2nd grade, 3rd grade. People have to know what is right and what is wrong. Don't expect the parents. Some of these, and unwed mothers is white, black, Hispanic, Asian. I could do a whole show on marriage, but I'm not going to get into that. Virtue is what the schools have totally failed. They're taking our tax dollars and they have failed to teach virtue. That's the number one problem in our schools. So the murder rate, we got to get these murderers off the street. We need the people involved. Go look at my YouTube clip called Nobody Cares. Okay, now, people say, well, we need more policemen. Well, they did point out that the number of detectives are much less, and it is detectives that do the hard work to find the murderers. So yes, we need more detectives. Now, people will say we need more police. Well, yes, we probably do need a few more, but we don't need a police state. Now, people will say, well, New York, they've taken care of the crime problem. Do you know how many police officers New York has? It's incredible. But you know how they pay it? You want to start paying a 10% city income tax? Then you can have all these cops. So think about it. You're paying a federal income tax. Thank God Donald Trump cut that for most of us. The state income tax went up. Then add on a city income tax, and I'm sure JB wants to raise the state income tax. How much of your money do you really want to, 60% of your income, add on property tax? 70% of your income should go for taxes? Think about it. Republicans are the only solution for this insane taxes. Okay, so let's talk about some of the candidates that have announced. There's a whole list of them here. I'm going to try to go through them. Toni Preckwinkle, she's the president of the county board. All right, let me point another thing out, Ms. Preckwinkle. Cook County Jail is holding many, many, many illegal aliens. But because Illinois is sanctuary because of the bad governor, because the city of Chicago is a sanctuary city, and the county of Cook, those people that we are feeding every day could be deported back to their home countries. Now, the biggest joke, and I will debate anybody on this subject, the whole Mexican, South American, Central American thing. When people complain, if you send the criminals back, you're breaking up families. The family can go back. If dad gets arrested or mom gets arrested and gets deported back to Mexico or Guatemala or Honduras, the whole family can move right back to Honduras, Guatemala. You want to fix what's wrong with them, Central American countries? It's up to the people to fix them. Where are the adults? When they talk these gangs are running, where are the adults? Where are the adults in Central America? I know they were not brought up under our Western civilization, English descendancy, where we embraced the Magna Carta, where we embraced the Constitution, where we embraced the Declaration of Independence. I know they had none of that, Mexico on south. And I feel sorry for them. But it's all written out. The Constitution is printed everywhere. People can copy. Other countries can do what we did here. Freedom. Freedom is the key. Pepwinkle forgetter. Bill Daley, criminal. And I will debate Bill Daley anywhere, anytime, or his criminal brother, Richard M., or their criminal father, who is dead, Richard J. But criminal on this parking meter scandal. Now, nobody's covering it. I've looked into it. I probably know more about the parking meter thing than maybe three people know as much as I know. The minute Richard M. Daley took a fee from any of them legal firms that negotiated a deal, it became an illegal deal. That $1 billion that was given disappeared. The parking, we could be revenue from that parking deal could be going to the city of Chicago right now. Richard M. Daley, Bill Daley, both criminals when it comes to the parking meter. He doesn't even deserve a spot on the stage. But if he wants to debate me, I'll beat him in a debate just like I think I beat him many, many years ago in a swimming meet at 18th Street and Damon Avenue with his father looking on. Gary McCarthy, former police superintendent. I don't know where he stands. I know they want more police, and it would work on the murder problem, but it's a problem. Dorothy Brown, county clerk, forget it. Gary Chico had many city jobs, forget it. Paul Fidelis. Now some Republicans will say, well, we maybe support, no. We're not going to support Paul. He was in charge of the Chicago Public Schools. They have failed to teach virtue. The murder rate in Chicago is because of people like Paul Fidelis. No, forget him. A bunch more candidates here. Willie Wilson, owner of many McDonald's, but he's not a conservative. What Chicago needs, let me say this, what Chicago needs is a conservative. Is there a conservative out there? No. And my good friend, my good friend Chris Cleveland, who's in charge of the 43rd Ward, is the Republican leader in Chicago. Let me just say one thing to you personally. Find a candidate. If there are 10, 12, 15 candidates going to be on the ballot, one Republican with full Republican support out of the 10 or 12 wards that have real Republican organizations, one Republican could make the runoff. It could happen. Now, who's going to stand up? I don't know. I don't have the money. I promised my wife I'd never run again. But like Harold Washington, he said he would run for mayor, this going back, as long as the organizers in the communities would register, I think he said 100,000 more black folk to vote, and then he would run. So as a former congressional candidate, if 10,000 Republicans would go out and get 10 signatures each, so I would have 100,000 signatures, and also donate $10 each, I would be interested. And that's as far as I'm going. You send my email, Team Dan. Let's see how many people take me up on that. So anyhow, great opportunity for Republicans. Okay, now, I'm going to talk mathematics. This was one of my favorite subjects in high school. Let me check the clock here. Oh my God, only got a few minutes. The problem in Chicago that I see with all these massive residential buildings going up, the math does not work. Let me explain. Take a regular 6-flat. Property tax on a regular 6-flat is about $30,000. That means each apartment is paying $5,000 in taxes per year. Now, if a family of 4 lives in that apartment and has 2 kids they're sending to school, then this family of 4 wants to get $20,000 back. They keep building, taking factory buildings, making them apartment, and what are all these people demanding? Everybody's demanding many, many, many things. Let me give you an idea of where the money goes and why the math does not work. Schools. That's what people want. Schools, right? Parks. Costs money. Dog parks. Everybody wants a dog park now. What do you think that costs? And police protection. There is not enough money. We don't need more residents. We need manufacturing. We need to bring jobs back. When they complain on the south side and the west side, there are no jobs. The only jobs exist way out in the suburbs. So you need a car, you need insurance in order to get to a job. One reason Donald Trump is such a great president, because he's pointed this out too. Manufacturing is the key. So we need to go back to manufacturing in Chicago. Whether you got to give the land away, there's plenty of land. You can't keep building these tremendous housing projects. In fact, right here on the north side, the last steel mill, it's all torn up. I'm going to show you some clips of that. For what? More residents. More residents. It doesn't work. You're going to end up with a 10%, like New York, income tax in Chicago. And all these people, you think you can depend on any of these candidates running for mayor? I'll tell you, things could be great if we would embrace, and that's the insanity. That's the insanity we're putting up with. We got George Soros financing Tifa, anti-fascists, and they keep calling Donald Trump a fascist. Based on what? We don't have the right as an American citizen to control our borders. Does that make you a fascist if you want to keep America for Americans first and maybe bring in people as we need them? And we don't want open borders? I think the general consensus of most people is we do not want open borders. Period. Change those countries. Communism, socialism, fascism. Look what Venezuela, a modern country. People are eating their pets. People are starving. 2 million, 3 million have left the country. Socialism, fascism, communism, Marxism does not work. So you start listening. That silly little girl in New York that won that primary, what's her last name, Cortez, went to college, maybe the dumbest politician running for anything. And she went to college for economics. This is the problem. Property rights, freedom, the right stands for, let me say it again, the right. The people on the right, there's nothing dangerous about the right. The right is freedom. Go to YouTube and look at my clips. The right is freedom. The left is big government. It's up to you. I'm Dan Schmitt. This is my TV show, Team Chicago Challenge. This clip was put together for this Chicago audience, and I'm also going to put it up on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed what I've talked about today.